When I think of Bill Gardner, I think of research integrity, passion, mentorship, and collaboration. And so it's really fitting that this Senior Research Chair in Child and Adolescent Psychiatry is a partnership between the CHEO Research Institute, CHEO Foundation, Faculty of Medicine at the University of Ottawa. Through his keen intellect, his collaborative nature, and his thoughtful approaches, Bill has made tremendous insights into improving child and youth mental health in the region. He's brought a unique perspective coming from the US and looking at the Canadian system, where our single-payer model has both advantages but also challenges that Bill has tried to unearth through his health policy research. Bill has made a tremendous impact on so many in his role as the inaugural Senior Research Chair in Child and Adolescent Psychiatry. For the past 10 years in this role, Bill has been a leader in this field, elevating the importance of the mental health of children, youth, and adolescents in the Ottawa region, across Canada, and beyond. Today, we are celebrating the renaming of the Senior Research Chair in Child and Adolescent Psychiatry as the Bill Gardner Senior Research Chair. What an amazing tribute to all of Bill's accomplishments over a lifetime of achievement in the field. The impacts that he has had on so many children, families, trainees, colleagues, and really everyone that has come in contact with Bill. Bill, you have truly been inspirational. This is your legacy, and this will go on for many years and remind all of us of what it means to be a research leader, to be committed to your craft, and to inspire the next generation of researchers. Thank you for everything you have done, Bill, and congratulations.
Pretty much exactly 10 years ago, here at CHEO, we launched our search for a new chief of child and adolescent psychiatry. And little did we know that we'd close out the year not just with a new chief, but also with a new recruit for our CHEO research enterprise, Dr. Bill Gardner. And as we've seen these last few months and years, as Bill has struggled with the greatest challenge of his life, openly sharing his experiences and his learnings, Bill is, above all, a teacher. Yes, in the formal sense of teaching other people in an academic context. But above all, he is about knowledge, developing knowledge, sharing knowledge, creating learning organizations around him so that we can, here at a place like CHEO, enrich the experiences of young people, improve their care, and do better. And so this chair will really honor that legacy. It will be a reminder to us of how research can change young lives, and it will also be a resource that going forward in perpetuity, we will continue to be able to nurture that teaching, that learning, that knowledge, all in service of a greater cause. Thank you, Bill, for the contribution that you have made to CHEO, to the CHEO community, your colleagues, and most of all, to kids and families that come here for care.
My name is Jim Pope. I'm a bit of an interloper here. I know nothing about child psychology and can't comment on the merits of Bill's research or teaching in the field. I have known him, however, for half a century, and I want to mention a couple of themes that have been consistent throughout that time. The first of which is his commitment to, as he now puts it, service. I've seen this in operation right from the start, and I think from his time at the May School taking care of autistic children who had severe problems and were difficult to work with, the need of his fellow human beings for help and care has gone straight to his heart. It's motivated all of his activities since then, and it's been wonderful to see that over time. The second thing is his method for approaching service, which is, as all of you know, his faith in science, in facts, reason, experimentation, building up of knowledge, and constantly seeking to solve or at least ameliorate human problems. Bill brings to this an enormous range of skills. He's a polymath. It's a joy to talk with him. I have been privileged to accompany Bill as a comrade on this journey and look forward to continuing to do so. And I congratulate him on this occasion, and I congratulate you for awarding him this honor. It's his character. He's a person of just magnificent character. He talks a lot about you, his colleagues. It's clearly a joy in his life working with you on these common projects. Thanks for giving me an opportunity to say something.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk about my friend and colleague, Dr. Bill Gardner, on this wonderful occasion. For more than a quarter of a century, about $20 million worth of federal research grants, and more than 50 or 60 peer-reviewed published manuscripts, we have worked together as scientists to try and improve the mental health of children in our work together. I'll let Bill tell you whether or not we were successful in that work, but I'd like to reserve my comments for talking about Bill. Now, normally that would involve a roast because we spent a lot of our time prodding and poking at each other in good faith and good humor. But today there are three things that I learned from him that have changed my life. First, Bill has always been focused on the North Star. I get distracted by baubles and new opportunities and new ideas, but he's always asked, is it important to improving the well-being of the children? And that constant focus on our North Star has made a big difference. Secondly, Bill is probably the most ethical scientist I've ever met. His complete commitment to the unvarnished truth, even when it costs him in his career or his relationships, is without peer. Similarly, his concerns for justice for populations is unmatched and have been a constant source of inspiration for me. Finally, Bill has just been an incredibly rigorous scientist throughout our work, and his focus on science almost to the point of a fault causes great frustration for people like me who are his colleagues, but in the end results in some papers and grants that are almost works of art if you're a nerdy scientist like we are. Bill's North Star focus, his ethical stance, and his rigor have changed my career, and along with his friendship, they've also changed my life. I would not be where I am today without him, and I owe him greatly, and I can't think of a person more deserving of this award. So congratulations, Bill, and let's celebrate.
My relationship with Bill comprises not only a wonderful marital partnership, but a productive, long-standing scientific collaboration. We first met in Pittsburgh on a multi-site grant writing team for a proposal to improve mental health services for kids in juvenile justice. Nothing came of that grant, but several years later, I contacted him for a statistical consultation, from which I left with great answers to my questions and a dinner invitation. That evening was filled with conversation about mental health care research, a liberating experience for both of us to be able to freely talk science without concerns that the other would be bored. Our first collaborative paper, my idea, was on cortisol levels in girls with conduct disorder, and soon after came the next, his idea, on gender-based differences in primary care providers' mental health treatment. Our scientific partnership has lasted 26 years and continues to this day. Throughout these 2.5 decades of work, I've learned a great deal from Bill. I am always impressed with his rapid ability to see both verbal and mathematical problems and solve them innovatively. He is a true polymath with far-reaching interests in mathematical statistical methods, physiology. He's educated himself about many topics, most recently immunology of cancer, And many of you may be surprised to know that he's maintained a side academic gig of studying, presenting, and publishing philosophical papers, ranging from questioning the morality of involuntary psychiatric commitment to proposing a developmental capability model for child well-being. Perhaps the most impressive characteristic about Bill is that all of his research is driven by the need to provide justice in healthcare for the vulnerable and disenfranchised. This opportunity to ensure that the legacy of Bill's work will continue through this research chair in his name is truly a magnificent gift to him, to me, to our family, and most importantly, to the children and youth throughout Ontario and Canada. Thank you.
I want to express my deep gratitude to the CHEO Research Institute. CHEO-RI allowed me to pursue research with great intellectual freedom. Having a research chair named for me was a wholly unanticipated honor. In this talk, I want to do three things. I will briefly present the goal that has motivated my research career, which is improving the mental health of children and adolescents. I was part of an international group of researchers working together toward this goal, and I will comment on whether we've succeeded. Mostly, we have not. I'll conclude with some thoughts on why our progress on child and adolescent mental health has been limited and what we need to do moving forward. But first, my research. My work has aimed to improve the mental health of children and adolescents. What this meant has changed over the course of my career. When I began graduate school in clinical psychology, I aimed to help children and families by developing better therapies. But over time, I've come to the view that what we need most is to improve the population mental health of children and adolescents through improving service delivery and by preventing mental illness. What were our strategies for improving child population mental health? Along with many others, I believed that the mental health of children and adolescents was neglected by the healthcare system and society at large. The critical problem was that children with mental disorders were not detected by the healthcare system, and therefore, their problems were not treated. Cases were not identified for two reasons. First, parents, teachers, pediatricians, and family physicians did not know how to identify cases. Second, the stigmatization of mental health problems made it difficult for children and adolescents to disclose these problems or for parents to acknowledge them. This led us to a two-pronged strategy. First, develop efficient, cost-effective means of screening for cases, and then to deploy these screens in primary care offices and schools. The identified children would be treated with evidence-based therapies. Second, we'd engage in campaigns to destigmatize mental health problems. I was not involved in the destigmatization project. However, with many colleagues, I put great effort into developing screening instruments for child and adolescent mental health problems and deploying them in primary care offices. Did this strategy work? It's difficult to say. We developed the strategy before we had a method to actually measure a population's mental health. Therefore, we do not have an empirical way to determine whether the population mental health of children and adolescents has improved or declined over the past decades. My gut feeling, however, is that we have made limited progress in improving child and adolescent population mental health. If that's true, what explains it? First, one possible reason is that children's environments may have changed in ways that expose children to factors that cause mental health problems. There's been a modest increase in the proportion of children living in poverty in the US, although not in Canada. However, there has been substantial increases in the proportion of children living in single-parent households in both countries. It is also possible that the proliferation of smartphones and social media has harmed children. Second, our strategy for improving the population's mental health was ineffective. Screening assumed that identified youth would be treated. This was naive. On the one hand, many families reject our proffered treatments for diverse reasons. On the other hand, as the demand for therapy and psychiatric medications increased, the supply of clinicians did not increase in a commensurate way. As a result, waiting lists for care grew. 3. A related problem was that the mental health system has done a poor job of allocating treatment to those who need it most. Mental health problems are most common among those in the bottom quintile of the socioeconomic gradient. However, mental health care is supplied primarily to those at the top of the gradient. Fourth, in many ways, our efforts to destigmatize mental disorders have been successful. People talk about problems candidly, and getting mental health care is much less likely to threaten your employment. However, it is also possible that we've created a problem of youths who self-diagnose as having attention or internalizing disorders. How should population mental health researchers proceed? First, we must develop new methods to measure population mental health and how it changes across geography and demographics. 2. We need to give up the idea that we can improve population mental health simply by expanding the mental health treatment system. I'm all for training more psychiatrists, psychologists, and social workers, but we will never scale the system to meet demand if we carry on business as usual. 3. Instead, we need to find ways to implement stepped care approaches to treatment, where we reliably deliver inexpensive therapies to children and adolescents with common cold, attention, and internalizing disorders. 4th, we must also carry out research to understand the social determinants of mental health, and then use that knowledge to prevent the development of mental health disorders. 5th, and finally, we must ensure that our treatment and prevention efforts are allocated based on need rather than being concentrated on those best able to access care. So, we clearly have a lot to do. I look forward to the research that will be carried out by scientists who hold this research chair in the future. I'm sure they will have better ideas than our generation had, and that we will eventually successfully tackle these problems.